Alright, we're back this month with another Boruto chapter, and this month, this chapter changes everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything.
But before we get into that, let's do a recap. In this last chapter, Boruto appears to stop Hidari's advances on Sarada. Through this, Boruto and Sarada have to face off against Hidari and a bunch of claw grinds. Though it was a bit tricky because of Hidari's ability to disappear and reappear through his belts, they would ultimately end up defeating him with Rasengan Uzuhiko. Towards the end of the chapter, we see that Hidari's remains left some type of bud called a soul thorn. In the middle of Boruto's explanation to Kawaki, he ends up getting blasted through the chest with an attack from far away. The chapter then ends revealing that it was Jura who ended up shooting Boruto in the chest. But in this new chapter, we get more info on Boruto's past and what he did after the incapacitation of Sasuke. We also get more information that changes everything we ever thought of Boruto, and not only Boruto but also Naruto and the whole series as a whole. So let's get into it. Before we get into this, please consider subscribing. It only takes a couple seconds and it really helps me out. The chapter opens right where it left off, with Jura monologuing to himself, saying his goodbyes to Boruto after shooting him. Bug then appears out of Jura's belt, informing him that Boruto has someone helping him, and that person helping him most likely told him about the soul thorns. He would also question Jura, did Hidari really die? Next, Jura suggests to retreat so that the soul thorn doesn't rot. He also states that Boruto is lucky and that it's almost like the heavens are protecting him. We then see Boruto start to wake up. The manga then cuts to a flashback of the past where Boruto was seemingly hiding from Shinobi. Then from behind him comes a voice stating, "I finally found him." The manga then reveals the voice to be a frog. The frog then notifies Boruto that there are 20 shinobi surrounding him, and that they don't need to kill innocents. Boruto then questions him on his identity. The frog then reassures Boruto that he's not an enemy, and if he was, he would have contacted the shinobi by now. The frog then states that they can talk later, but first Boruto needs to leave the area. He tells Boruto that there's no time for hesitation and that he needs to place his hand on the frog. Boruto then quickly does so, and the manga cuts to a man performing a familiar jutsu, and with a bunch of smoke, we then see Boruto appearing on a summoning circle, and it is revealed to be Kashin Koji that summoned him. Boruto questions him on where he is. Kashin Koji reveals that they're outside the land of Wind in one of Orochimaru's old hideouts, and that he used genjutsu to hide the entrance. He reveals to Boruto that the frog he used was actually a scientific ninja tool to speak to him. Boruto questions Kashin Koji if he knows him. Kashin Koji then pulls out a mask and questions Boruto if he remembers the mask. Boruto then asks him could he really be who he thinks he is. Kashin Koji reveals his identity to Boruto and reveals to Boruto that he's actually an android created by Amato. Boruto responds saying, "How could I forget? He's the one who killed Ao and tried to kill Konohamaru." Kashin Koji asks Boruto if he can verify something starting from the day he was born, and he needs to answer honestly. Boruto then questions Kashin Koji if he knows about omnipotence. Kashin Koji then states to Boruto that he's the vessel of Ishiki and that Amato and him helped him escape Kara. He then asks Boruto to confirm if that's true, but Boruto stays silent. Kashin Koji then says he doesn't know much about omnipotence, but he does know the consequences it brought, and that day it seemed like he really did get chased out of the village. He then comes to the conclusion that everyone's memories revolving around him and Kawaki have been changed. Boruto then questions him on how he was able to figure this out, if he's also being affected by the jutsu. Kashin Koji then reveals that he knew that this would all happen in advance. He also then apologized to Boruto for fighting him many years ago, and that he had to stick to his mission. Boruto reassures him that it's okay, and he's a shinobi, so he understands the weight of a mission. Kashin Koji then explains that he was created by Amato to defeat Ishiki and stop him from sucking the life out of the planet, but Ishiki's power far exceeded his expectations and he was too much. But his role in the mission was over, and he was leaving the rest of Naruto, so he kept quiet waiting for death. But on the verge of death, a bunch of film pops up in front of him, showing every moment in Boruto so far. He explains that he had a hunch that every moment he has been seeing are moments from the future. He even saw a future where Shiki, Gaara's son, got turned into a Shinju. After seeing all this, he thought he must destroy the Ten Tails himself. He realized that the planet is still in danger. Even if he dies, Ishiki won't end. He thought he can't die like this and that he still has a lot to do. Boruto then explains to him that omnipotence swapped his and Kawaki's position. Carrying off that, Kashin Koji states as far as he's concerned, Kawaki should be Naruto's son. Boruto then questions him on how he got his ability to view into the future. He then explains that after Shibai devoured multiple planets, he became a god, and he was an Otsutsuki from ancient times. Amato got the cells left from Shibai's physical body and put them into every Kara member in hopes that they would develop Shibai's abilities. But only Ko, Daemon, and Ada were able to develop these abilities. He then further explains that on the brink of death, his abilities finally developed and appeared in front of him. He gained the ability to see all possible futures. He even states that their future isn't a straight path and that their futures branch out into different possibilities. Possibilities where Naruto lost to Ishiki in his Baryon mode. Even other possibilities where after Kawaki sealed Naruto and Hinata, him and Boruto got into an altercation that resulted in him and Sarada dying. Also, in that timeline, him and Kawaki never swapped with each other, leading to Kawaki losing the code and Boruto's body being absorbed by the Tentos, which led to the erasure of the planet. Kashin Koji then warns Boruto that the future they're walking towards is a dangerous one. He then tells Boruto that he can look in possible futures where Boruto learns certain jutsus, and using that, he can teach Boruto. He also then reassures Boruto that they can save Sasuke. He then also explains to Boruto the worst possible future. In this future, the Ten-Tails breaks free of Code's control, then evolves into humanoid Shinju with their own will, and that there's 400 of them. He then tells Boruto that if they can remove the source of the Ten-Tails, it'll fix everything. Kashin Koji then reveals to Boruto that the most dangerous among them is the leader, Jura, also telling him that he will be killed by Jura. He then tells Boruto that every future had pretty much ended the same, ending where Kawaki fails and is absorbed by the tree. Knowing this fact, they can't let this future come true, and knowing these events, they can slowly change the future. Boruto then states that whether it's to stop the divine tree, there is no way he'll kill Kawaki. He then states, "I'll get my stupid brother back to his senses. I'll restore the Uzumaki family back once again. That's my goal." Boruto then agrees with Kashin Koji's plan and gets on board with that while putting on his headband. The manga then cuts back to the future where Boruto seems to be waking up after being shot. Sumire then tells Boruto not to move. The manga then pans to Sarada in pain after being shot in the forearm. Konohamaru's worried about her, but she cuts him off and tells him to worry about Boruto. The manga then cuts to Himawari waking up. Himawari runs to Sarada and heals her wound, with everyone rightfully being surprised she was able to do that. Sumire then tells her to come over to Boruto and heal him, but Kawaki stops her, telling her not to get close to Boruto. Kawaki then says Boruto should be healed, but he needs to be shackled first. As a result of this, Konohamaru then locks him up. Kawaki then reaches into his collar and pulls out a frog, but the frog ends up disappearing. The manga then cuts to the Shinju. We then see Jura grabbing the soul thorn and putting it onto the cube. Hidari then appears in its place. Jura questions Hidari on his condition. Hidari responds saying he doesn't know. Jura reassures him saying it's fine and that he still has his conscience intact. Matsuri then calls for Jura's attention, pointing out that there's a soul thorn growing out of the tree, stating that she can't wait to see what it turns into. Jura then states that he doesn't care and commands her to harvest it. And the chapter ends with Matsuri putting the soul thorn on the cube with Jura stating, "I have to think of a name." This chapter was genuinely so insane. This completely changes all of Naruto and Boruto combined. With Kashin Koji's new ability, we see that there were so many different possibilities. We even saw a possibility where they lost. Boruto and Sarada ended up dying, and Kawaki ended up losing to Code. So there's a possibility where Code isn't a fraud. This is actually insane because we also see another possibility where Baryon mode actually loses. That is also insane. So I feel like this could open up to so many different possibilities. But yeah, with that being said, let me know what y'all think in the comments, and yeah, I'll catch y'all later.